Okay, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about how I went from this to this and saved $60,000 in the process. My house was built in the late 80s and the current technology at the time was good, but I wanted to upgrade the style of my windows and as well as the efficiency. I wanted to go with triple pane windows just to get that extra R value for keeping the house warm in the wintertime. And I wanted to get my doors a little bit more stylish and interesting compared to the much dated 80s look that I had. Most windows and doors that are made in North America use a vinyl construction, which has a lot of expansion and contraction issues. And also when it's warm, you can find that your windows will heat up and then you try to open them and the whole frame will flex in relation to the glass and you'll have issues opening them. So aluminum is a much better choice. But you have to get the right type of aluminum window. You need one that has a good thermally broken area, which means the outside of the window or door and the inside are separated by a thermal barrier. So the heat or the whole heat or cold doesn't transfer in between them. So that's one of the main advantages to these types of windows and doors. European doors have a much higher quality than the North American construction. North America just hasn't caught up with what the Europeans are doing with their windows and doors. But they also have a high cost, extremely expensive to import the doors. Plus there's additional tariff costs that come along with that. China has an excellent level of construction if you pick the right manufacturer, and you can get great quality and great efficiency out of these doors if you know what to look for. So this door roughly cost me $8,000 and I did all the installation process myself. But if you were to buy this door in North America, it could be upwards of $30,000. So my front door I want to go with is a pivot door. The reason I chose a pivot door is one, it looks quite interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but also for sizing. If you want a door of this size, basically above 36 inches, you need to go to a pivot design. The main benefits of a pivot design is there's no weight on the actual frame of the door. The weight is on the ground. That's where all the load is transferred. And there's a pivot point at the top, which leads to you're able to have vast sizes of doors without having issues of the frame bending or the door sagging over time. This door is an extremely heavy duty door. It needs 4 people to lift it. It was a bear to get into place. It's actually bulletproof in the advertisement of the door. Not that's important, but there's a 4 millimeter thick solid panel of aluminum on either side and a honeycomb construction of aluminum inside, which leads to the door weighing over 400 pounds alone without the frame. I wanted light to come inside the house, but also didn't want to lose too much thermal efficiency. So these panes of glass are actually triple pane. So that means there's an outside layer, an inside layer, and a layer in between, which leads to the best efficiency you can get in current windows. Here's how the pivot door opens. You have a multiple layer lock system here, which leads to additional security. That's within the smart lock. And you also have an additional privacy lock that's manual if you didn't want somebody coming in who does have a fingerprint as well. As you can see, the weight of the door is on the bottom and the top. The top actually just balances it. All the weight sits on the bottom. One of the considerations you have to consider is what type of mechanism the pivot door uses. This uses a hydraulic system. So there's one that does the last 10 degrees of close, and then the rest from 15 degrees to 180 is controlled by a separate screw. They're separate speeds because you want your door to close at a various speed and then come to a complete close. One of the important things is you never want to over open the door because you can blow the hydraulic seals inside and then you're going to have to replace the whole mechanism. Okay. One of the other considerations you have to think about when installing a door like this is the frame. The frame actually takes up 2.5 inches in this scenario, and that's because the hydraulic mechanism of the door has to sit flush with the floor. So in my specific scenario, we had to jackhammer out the concrete to set the frame down inside and be flush with the door. A simpler way of installing the door would be having the frame sitting on top of the floor, but then you'd have a large threshold of 2 inches to step over all the time, and that was something I didn't want to do. One of the features that people will say about pivot doors is they don't seal well. Now, granted, they do not seal as well as a standard door, but I did research multiple ways that pivot doors can seal the best possible. And one, for the side, this has a double rabbeted hinge, which means there's a double step inside the frame, so it gets 2 points of sealing along the side. And because a pivot door, when it opens, it goes out and in at the same time, it can have a traditional door seal at the bottom and top. And how they were able to accomplish a proper seal is there's a pop-down door sealer that comes out. So how the doors seal at the top and bottom is there's a button that pushes in. Inside the frame, you'll see that there's a mechanism that has a ramp, and the button runs up the ramp, and just before the door closes, these seals come down at the top and bottom, leading to a complete seal of the door. So this is an accordion door. This door, when I looked into it in North America prices here, it was roughly $20,000 installed. Now, I don't know what the cost of just the installation and the actual door was. They wouldn't give me a breakdown, and they wouldn't actually sell me a door, just the door itself. It just came installed. There are important things to know is when they say door installed, that means you have to prepare the rough opening, which is really the hardest part of the door. You need to remove the other door. You need to make sure the other opening is fully open, the floor is level before they'll show up. The actual installation of the door is quite straightforward. The prep to get everything ready is 90% of the work. So I much rather do the whole process myself than pay somebody else a huge amount of money just to put in the door when I already have to prep the opening completely myself and do all the finishings. Okay, this door is an all aluminum construction. Lots of the doors you'll find here at discounted prices are vinyl, which leads to a lot of flexing. The most important part is having a stable base for the door to open to get it to slide easily. So once you open the handles, it's a very easy glide mechanism to open up the door. Effortless, you can use one finger to do it, and it locks in, and it gives you this full open effect, which is best for your home. These accordion screens are, as we've discussed, very expensive on their own. When I purchased the door, it was an additional cost. I think it was about $400 extra, which would cost thousands here. And this seals up with a magnet, and this is how the door looks with the screen open. Normally, the screen sits outside the door, and when I initially installed it, the whole mechanism sat out approximately this far, which blocked the actual look of the door, and I really didn't like how you lost some of your view outside because of the screen. It took me some time to figure out what to do, but the solution was you need to ask for a bigger screen than your actual door so you can hide the mechanism inside the wall. The actual screen is actually sitting behind this drywall, and I had to extend the frame with an additional piece of metal to get it to fit properly and give this seamless look. This is a traditional sliding door. It is triple pane. Each one of the panes weighs around 300 pounds, so multiple people need to install it. Some of the considerations of this door is you want to make sure you get a door that has a really good sliding mechanism. Considering this door has so much weight, once you get it moving, you can slide it just with one finger. Again, this one was an optional extra, was the screen. So the screen door can slide closed and give you the open air feel. This is also a metal screen, which is much more durable than the standard vinyl layer screens that you get. If you do get a screen, it's an additional frame to the door. So you have to compensate for that when framing up your door, because it's going to lead to another 2 inches of thickness in addition to the additional thickness of the door. So you have to be prepared for that before you do the install process. As you can see, this part is just the frame for the screen, and the rest of it over here is the additional, just the frame of the door, which comes out to here. So we had to push everything back to be able to fit it all within the standard 6 inches of an exterior wall. This door here was about $3,000 minus the install process, which was all just my time. If you were looking for a similar sized door in aluminum construction, you're looking to spend around $6,000 to $10,000. You can get a vinyl door for in the $3,000 mark. but a full aluminum construction with a triple pane window with a good sliding mechanism, you're really gonna have to pay the extra cost to get that. As you can see here, we have another pivot door. This one, because it's in such a private area, we went with a full glass door. If it was your main door of your house, probably not the most appropriate choice, but as it goes out into a private sunken patio, it was an excellent choice. It's a triple pane construction, and it's a different type of seal. It uses this hair on the side, but I found out I haven't felt any wind blowing inside during the winter, so it's actually quite good. You can see this door, we had to sink the frame into the ground to make it flush, because again, this one has a hydraulic mechanism inside, and you need to factor that into your process. It's quite a bit of additional work to jackhammer out concrete and pour new concrete to have a level surface, and then pour concrete up to the frame to get this seamless look. But in my opinion, it's a worthwhile investment. If you're interested in a video on smart locks, I have a lot to say about them. There's lots of different issues. This one is a Samsung smart lock with a fingerprint sensor, which is very inconsistent. It also has an RFID tag and a touch screen, which I use to import a code, because this one does not seem to work with a fingerprint. The front door, the fingerprint scanner works well, but I have a full smart home. And one of the key features I want with my smart home is for the door to be able to lock when I tell at the end of the night to lock automatically. These doors do not communicate with your smart home almost at all. If you use the camera feature, it'll send you a clip of when someone comes to the door, but that's it. You can't use it for video footage. You can't tell your smart home to lock the door. None of those features work. Now, that's because this door communicates via Bluetooth, and it doesn't have a dedicated Wi-Fi receiver. The best way for a smart lock to work is use Zigbee to communicate with a hub, and then you have direct access. I use the Yale smart lock on my old door, which has full communication. And what I would do is every night I would tell my smart home I'm going to bed. It would turn off all the lights and lock the front door. And it worked great for years. When I upgraded doors, I assumed that smart locks would have the same feature integrated into it, but it is not the case. So I've talked to a few manufacturers, and they say they're working on designs for a smart lock that works over Zigbee. If you're interested in a full video talking about Zigbee versus Z-Wave versus Wi-Fi, we can do that in the future. Subscribe in the comments below. The main windows I decided to go with, the benefits of them is they have multi-direction open, and they have multiple points of seal. So this is in its closed configuration. You also have this way where the door opens and closes. And as you can see through here, it has multiple points of locking. And again, when you shut the window, you also have a tip function to be able to just let the airflow come in. Now, this is a common form of window in North America, but the amount of sealing that it has is more European design. It has been slowly working its way over here, but most of the windows you'll find in North America will not seal up to the level that this window will. It also came with the screen included. So what you guys may think is when you're delivering or when you're buying doors from China, you're going to think it's going to take a really long time to show up. If you ever actually look into ordering a door in North America, the leeway time for them to make the door, finish the door, and deliver the door can sometimes be months. If you order them from China, I found it's actually a shorter time period to get the doors made and shipped all the way from China to your warehouse. Experiences may vary, but for the ordering of my doors, from the day I placed my order to the day they got dropped off was about 3 months. When you're buying your doors, they're going to ask you if you want to do your own importation, which is something that's quite straightforward. It's basically getting your doors to clear customs. I live in Vancouver, BC, which is right on one of the two most major ports in the Pacific. So shipping from China is quite easy. It gets delivered to the port, and then you have to fill out the paperwork and pay the customs, and then arrange your own delivery method to your door. I decided to find a guy who had a high-up truck. Okay, it's been a year now since I installed these doors, and I have zero regrets. I ended up with a door that cost a fraction of the price, and I got higher quality, and I got to do the install myself, which I feel confident that the installation was done well. Thanks everyone for watching. If you have any questions, comment below, and please subscribe. It really helps my YouTube channel. There's going to be more videos dropping. One of them will be on this TV unit I installed with custom RGB lighting and backsplash and 3-dimensional tiles.